Thank you so much, yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yep, nice to be back on the podium. The problem, if let's say we give a talk in the afternoon after lunch, we are actually battling with double eyelid, when you actually have droopy eyelid syndrome. So I try to make it as interesting as possible, but as relevant as possible because it's not easy. So cutting edge IOL in clinical practice, promise, performance, and perils. Now, this is my disclosure. Now, what is the issue when we actually talk about this? Because you need to know the technology. We have two things. We look at the IOL technology in practice, but we want to know what they promise and the performance and the problem that we have with them. Again, I refer the TOR that was given to me. It is a long list of TOR. It's supposed to be one whole day. Let's do it in 15 minutes. So basically, what in the TOR says, the term of reference for my talk is, you actually have to know about the advancement in technology, multifocality, extended depth of focus, accommodating IOL, complication and management, and future direction and complication. So if you look at this, Damon Gatinel, 5 years ago, tried to describe this so people understand. He divided that into the optical principle and divided that into the intraocular type. Now, he tried to do that, but it's not that easy. At that time, he tried to put where is VVT to put in here. So now, let me actually put you through this. The main thing that you have to understand today is we're going to describe this based on two facts, and I'm going to actually concentrate on one fact. The first one, we want to discuss about the image formation. What kind of image are we getting with this refractive media, which is your lens? Now, we concentrate on that within 15 minutes. Hopefully, you understand the technology of the lens and what they're trying to do. If you look at this, when we talk about the image formation over here, we definitely, when we talk about the lens, we are talking about this type of category. There's a lot of things in IOL and a lot of technology that we have to talk from actually the, the content of it. We talk about the haptic of it, the design of it. But in terms of the image formation, we are talking about the design, optics, and we look at the centrality and focality. And this has expanded from before, if you look down. Now, I don't know whether you can see that. You have mono, multi, EDOF, and then I put there another one, elongated foci, or elongated focus. So if you look at this then, we put this then up. When you have image formation, this is where you get the image from later on, and then you actually have this. So what you have over here is they describing what kind of image did they have actually in the eye. But what they design is the refractive media over here. So if you look at this then, let's look at monofocal. Everybody understand about monofocal because what happened is actually you just have a single focus of vision. You do not have the range of vision. You have only single one and that's it. That's what we aim for. This is very standard, and I give one example in terms of company, Ray 1 family. In Ray 1 family, you can actually have 5 types of monofocal, including toric, but you can actually put in there whether they're aspheric, whether it's hydrophobic, whether it's coating, whether yellow, it doesn't matter. Refractive part is still one which is actually monofocal. Then I have to jump into the accommodation. Why do I have jumped to accommodation? Because accommodation is a single focus, but it is actually a moving focus because you actually move on this side. The other thing that you actually have over here is what we call light adjusted lens. That is the lens itself still on this part actually move, whereas the focus is over here. So accommodation lens is still a single focus lens. So we know about that. We know about the issue that we have. But what we want is actually the range of vision. We want to see far, near, and intermediate. So what strategy that we have? When you talk about range of vision, the first technology that we have almost 30 years ago is actually multifocality. When you have multifocality, that is what it meant. What does it mean? You have multiple focus of light. So you actually get it when you have multifocality. How do you actually arrange from, or how do you arrive from multifocality on this side? It depends on the strategy that people have. I'll give you another example for Ray 1. They do have a trifocal. This is actually when you actually split between 50% far, 25%, 35%. Other company will be 30%, 30%. The other company will actually split them differently. So that depends. Now what happened, if you look at this, you know, what happened in this particular part? How do they actually achieve that multifocality? What technology they use? Now with that, they have many strategies. And that's why the strategy, I've actually delivered this talk before. Again, it takes another 20 minutes to talk about this. But the technology they use, I'm introducing it to you, so later on we can talk about it, is refractive, diffractive, segmented, and apodized. In another company, they call it IOLs. So this is actually the term that people use to us, tell us, because they just want to describe about how, what do they do at the refractive media lens here to give you multifocality. But there is a problem with multifocality. Everybody knows about this, because when you split, you actually have competing energy towards that. I have another 5 minutes. Okay, so if you look at that, you can see that that's why you start to have the visual disturbance. You have glare, halos, and then you get a starburst. Now, on top of that, for you to get a very good vision with multifocality, you need binocular summation, meaning that the moment that you put two eyes together, they become better. But if you do only one eye, the patient would actually have problem with neuroadaptation. It will go to the actually occipital cortex. Am I talking too fast, Steve? No, because everybody say I'm talking too fast when I get excited. But okay, now, how do they get this multifocality with all this? Now, then it comes with extended depth of focus. What is extended depth of focus? You look at this multifocality, you look at this single vision, what you want to know is actually you want to extend that range, but without multifocality. How can we do that? Now, that's why we go to extended depth of focus, because this one line that you have, what you do is, we know now that one line, your ability to see near and far, or your ability to see clear, is not this single focal length. It's not just one focus. Because when we think about it, you actually be able to see this, not only at that point, you'll be able to see a bit front and a bit at the back from that line of focus. You can still see clear, even though it's not sharp, but you can still see 6 over here. And that's why we identify that as actually the field. Within that field, you can still see clearly, despite it's only one single focus. And that particular field, we call it as the depth of vision. And that's why you have extended depth of focus. So using the strategy that they use, using all this, diffractive, refractive, spherical, aberration, aspheric, what they do now with the extended vision, or the, the monofocal plus, is they're playing around with this. Can we actually reduce this? Can we actually increase this? So that is basically extended depth of focus. Now, when you have extended depth of focus, what you have is, you have a range of vision, but it's not complete, because you still cannot give the near. It's not complete. So with that, that's why you have this enhanced monofocal. It is definitely less visual disturbance because you don't have multifocality. And with that, people use aspheric technology. We don't have time to talk about it. We use aspheric technology for you to actually have an extended range of vision. Now, then that's why the reason for that, you still have that depth. You can still actually elongate that foci. But the issue with that is you don't have the full range of vision. Now, with that, that's why you actually have this particular, in Ray 1 family, you start to have this enhanced monofocal. Somebody said monofocal plus. Some said that extended depth of vision, because you basically try to extend. But is it enough? If you look into what the patient see, you can see the limitations of this, any of the technology. Monofocal, you have that, and then enhanced monofocal, you have that, and after that, you actually have this increased range of focus. But none of them can give you a trifocal type, because trifocal type can give you far, near, and intermediate. Very clear, but it comes with the trade-off. You have dysphotopsia, you have visual disturbances. So what do they do now? Now what they do now is actually said, okay, we can't use this aspheric, all that, diffractive, non-diffractive. So they use a new term now in the market, non-diffractive. They do not want the diffraction. So how do they do it? They actually try to elongate this more. Remember that single focus that we have in the monofocal? they try to make it elongate. So they said, what you need to do is we have to progressively elongate that focus, extend the depth of field. How do they do it then? So you look actually that focus, you will see that, let's concentrate on that. What they do now with the technology is, they try to produce the image something like this. They will try to make it like this, a converging type rather than just elongate. So how do they do it? Because they progressively elongate that focus, they still extend the depth of field, but what they have actually achieved now, as they claim, is the smooth transition between from the distance and near. You no longer have that one buck. So they know now they need a desired focus of characteristic. So once they do that, what technology? The first thing you see, any company who producing this technology, they will actually say this is non-diffractive, because they marketed diffractive as visual disturbance. So one of the technology that you have now, currently, locally, is actually what they call the X-wave technology. It sounds like X-Men. So everybody got, whoa, this is X technology. That is VVT. VVT actually use X-wave technology, which is actually using a wavelength. So how to explain this? They cannot explain this while they're actually launching this. I have to actually find out how they work. And I actually met with the creator of this. I'll tell you later on how actually it works. So this is actually, you have a wavelength. What they do is wavelength travel like that. They know that if you actually light travel into a different media, if let's say from the less denser media to the denser media, the wave become very slow. So if let's say you split the light, then one actually travel without a media, another travel with the media, you can see that one actually light become slow. Not only that, now you can actually use that media to actually alter where the light goes. So once you do that, then you design the lens that actually have this. So you actually give the light over there, and each part of this light will actually travel differently. So you have the light travel far because it actually goes very fast. They are the one who travel very slow because they actually have more refractive media that they have to go through. And then they actually have the shape like this. Now, when you have a shape of light like this, the same source of light that coming from here, when they move, they actually have changed in terms of the shape of it. They become something like this. That's why when Alcon actually have to explain to you on this, they said it is actually stretch and shift, but they don't actually be able to explain it well. So what happens is that light now, when you actually pass through, you have stretched it to become like that and continuous, but you shift it. So you can actually have the nice continuous like that. So once you have this continuous, then you have wave shaping optical principle. Now, very difficult for others, so they actually produce this. You can see that again, this is actually different type. You can see that the way it goes, it actually very smooth. That is one technology. Another technology I believe will come to actually Indonesia is actually this technology. It was actually, when they actually announced that in Barcelona last year, you want to maintain this. But apart from using that wavefront, and again, VVT was designed using AI technology. The creator of VVT was actually scientists in NASA. They actually do that because optical bench were unable to do it. So now you have another lens who said that we can do this as well. We call it spiral. Spiral means vortex. If you know vortex like tornado, you know they have a vortex like that. So what did they do is they said, okay, what we can do is actually we create the refractive media, your lens, that actually you join it to be like that in spiral mode, then you get that spiral image. You know, that is actually where it got. So what you get now, you have progressive elongation, you have extended depth of focus, and you have transition from the distance to the near. You have a vortex image. We are assessing it now. I'm implanting it a few now, looking at that. But this is another exciting part that we know. Now, in short, what you need to understand is this. When people come to us about the technology, we get clouded. But as a surgeon, what you want to know, what kind of image that you have, because that is the experience that the patient have. Now, we can talk about later on in the Q&A. Are you worried about the angle kappa? Are you worried about certain things? Because each technology have their strength, and they definitely have their limitation. And that's why actually we will talk about it later on. We'll see how it goes. Now, you know that I actually covered most of it, not all of it, but I hope at 2 o'clock, you'll be able to absorb this and then I get your attention. Thank you so much for your attention.